Alright, today let's talk about the difference between a new mid-range smartphone and an old flagship smartphone. In particular, the Xiaomi Poco X3 and the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus. Now, I used the Galaxy for about a year, then I had an unfortunate drop, the screen broke, and I thought, well, it's really expensive to fix that screen, so why don't I try out the Poco? So I've been with the Poco for about 1.5 months now, and here is my experience comparing them. Nowadays, you can buy these two phones for roughly the same price, around $200 to $250, a nice budget-friendly price range. However, they offer vastly different packages. The Xiaomi Poco X3 is considered to be the best budget buy for this year. It costs around $200, $250, and comes packed with a huge battery, a huge screen, and, well, a headphone jack. This old Samsung from 2017, I believe, also headphone jack, has a smaller battery, but it has a fantastic screen. As far as audio quality, they're practically identical, with both having a headphone jack, Bluetooth 5.0, and stereo speakers. They're very similar in day-to-day use cases. When I'm just using it for internet, watching YouTube, they feel pretty much exactly the same. I will say though, the Samsung does feel faster, and this is supported by benchmarks I did. The Samsung was about 2 times faster in every benchmark, especially with graphics performance for you, if that matters. That is with the exception of storage speed. In this case, the Poco phone was a little bit faster than the Galaxy. However, in most use cases, I don't notice the difference, and I don't feel like this is enough of a difference to justify the Samsung over the Poco. The next point I want to touch on, that is a difference between these two phones, is the screen. This Poco X3 has an LCD display. So what that means is that it won't get as dark as the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus. When does this matter? Well, usually it doesn't. You're in a bright room and you don't really notice the difference. However, I notice it most when I am going to bed. That really does put more strain on my eyes, and I think makes it so that I don't have as good of sleep. I much prefer this Samsung. Looking at the cameras, both of the cameras are fairly similar. The Poco has 5 cameras, but effectively it's 2 good ones, a main sensor and a wide angle. Meanwhile, the Samsung has a main sensor and a telephoto, both of which are good. So if one of those matters to you, that might be worth considering. As far as the photo quality, I didn't really notice much difference. I shot with both the stock app and the Google Gcam app, and I found that Gcam usually does better with skin tones, but a lot of this just comes down to taste and preference. As far as video quality, I didn't notice a ton of difference. Apparently optical image stabilization with the premium Galaxy will make videos better. However, with the electronic image stabilization on the Poco, I didn't really notice a huge difference. Here's a clip with a selfie camera and the internal microphone on the Poco X3. And here's a shot with the selfie camera and integrated microphone on the Galaxy S9 Plus. As far as charging, this one's pretty huge. So I found it on the Xiaomi. It has 35 watt charging, and that is insanely fast. I was able to charge up probably half the battery from 20% in about 30 minutes. It was incredible. Meanwhile, on the Galaxy, it only has 15 watt fast charging, which these days isn't really that fast. The battery difference between these phones is huge. The Poco, with 5,000 milliwatt hours and a mid-range processor, will easily last me 2 days. Meanwhile, the Samsung, with only about 3,000 milliwatt hours and a high-end processor, will last me only 1 day. I find that to be massive, and if you really need that battery to last a long time, then definitely go with the Poco. The bigger battery in the Poco lends itself to being a much bigger phone though. So if you care about lightness, the Galaxy wins in that regard. The Poco doesn't have any wireless charging, while the Samsung does. I personally don't care about that. I find it more convenient to use a cable. However, to each their own. Let's talk durability for a second. Flagships are notoriously delicate, and I found that with mine. After all, I dropped it. It landed on one of the curved edges on the display that you only see with flagships, and it cracked it. It also costs a lot more to repair because it is a more premium OLED screen. Whereas if I were to crack this screen, first, it would be much harder because flat display, and it'd be easier to replace because it's an LCD. On the backs, I have cases on both of them, but if you don't like having a case, the plastic on the Poco X3 is definitely more durable than the glass on the Samsung Galaxy. Finally, something that isn't often talked about is the durability of the lens covers. On the Poco X3, it uses a glass lens cover, whereas on the Galaxy, it uses sapphire. What that means is that pocket lint or pocket sand will scratch the Poco, but it won't scratch the Samsung. So eventually you might get scuff marks on your camera lens here, whereas you would have a perfectly clean, scratch-free surface on the Samsung. Another thing to take into consideration is how much better I think the Galaxy feels. It's hard to quantify into words, but it's just more fun to use the Galaxy than it is to use the Poco. Another major point is connectivity. See, the Poco only has a few wireless bands in comparison with the Galaxy. And so what that means is that the Galaxy, it'll work for your CDMA, Verizon, it'll work with your GSM, AT&T, it'll work with every company. However, the Poco won't work with every company. What that means is that you have less options for carriers with the Poco, and you'll have worse connection. If you use CDMA, Verizon towers in the United States, or you don't live in a city, I definitely recommend going with the Samsung because it's a phone after all, and you need it to work as a phone when you need it to work as a phone. So this brings me to my conclusion. Which one is best for you? I prefer the Samsung because I like the feel of it. I think it feels much better to use. I enjoy using it. However, if battery is a huge concern for you, I can definitely recommend the Poco X3 because, oh my gosh, it excels. The major points to look for during your own search are if you want a better display or a better battery. And that's all I got for you today. If this video helped, be sure to leave a like and comment, and I'll see you in the next one.